Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good day. Welcome to our very international call. This is our workshop, the final workshop of a year-long series, a little bit over a year. Welcome. This call is being recorded. Please join me in the new set-aside prayer. God, please set aside everything that I think I know about myself, my unmanageability, the 12 steps, and you, for an open mind and a new experience with myself, my unmanageability, the 12 steps, and especially you. Please join me in the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. So it's been a while. It's been a long journey. It's been over 12 months, and you're the survivors. No, seriously. Many more people started. And I'm congratulating you with whatever work that you've done, at the very least showing up on a weekly basis, more or less consistently, and perhaps doing even some of the work that has been assigned. Maybe not all of it, maybe not consistently, maybe not as diligently as you want to, but it's your path, and I've really insisted on that throughout our journey. The whole purpose of today, like last time, like last week, is for you to comment on your journey, if you care to. Do you have any questions about where do you go from here? How do you go from here? What do you do? What can you expect? Do you have any comments about the workshop and or positive or negative experiences that you had with it? Primarily, I'm interested to hear from you, just because I think it's good for you to acknowledge it to yourself, let alone to the group, what your shift was. I promised you, based on the interpretation of the big books, Step 12, Spiritual Awakening, and my understanding of what that means, that you would have a shift in the way you think and feel and behave. And it would feel like it was done to you, obviously not without you. And you're welcome to comment on any aspect of that.
I'd just like to say, I'm not boasting, but I haven't had a mood swing for over 2 hours. I just want to share very briefly about the process that I went through, and then I'll just talk about my experience, and I won't go on too long. So, you know, I'm in AA. I haven't had a drink for 17 years, and I had an ambition for step 4 and 5 to be done, but I couldn't do them. You know, and I couldn't do them because I wasn't disciplined and I was afraid. And then after 12 years, so I did step 1 and use my willpower, and I didn't drink. My life got a lot better on the surface. And after 12 years, a lot of life happened, and I wasn't equipped to deal with it, and I had a breakdown. And then I had I really had an ambition to get step 4 and 5 done, because I knew I had to do them. So I went to a counselor, and they took my money, and I got a bit better. And I still had to do step 4 and 5. And so I got a sponsor, and he said, write step 4. So I went off, and I'd write a bit, put it down, go back to it, write a bit, and I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Then a member called me and said, "There's a workshop on the steps. Are you going to go?" And we're locked down at home in a pandemic. I have no excuse not to go. So I go along with him, and we joined on step 4, your workshop. And he's my accountability person every week. Going to your workshop, it's like going back to college. You get these assignments, and we get a little bit to do. People are saying an hour a day. We were able to do the work in an hour a week. You know, an hour a week, a half hour, an hour a week. You know, and as undisciplined as we are, we would leave it to the day before, and we'd still get it done. And the reason I got it done, was because I would phone him and say, "How are you getting on?" He said, "I have it done. Or I have to do it now." And I think if he had dropped out, I would have dropped out.
Oh.
So the accountability person is very important. So I got my step 4 done with your column method. Then we came to the bit where the wrap up, which is not, it's a bit vague, the wrap up I found.
Yes.
Everything else is it's very detailed, clear what to do.
Yes.
So I started doing my wrap up, and my sponsor had recommended I write the book autobiography style. So my wrap up became the book.
Yeah.
It became the book. It's about 100 pages.
Yeah.
And, you know, I wrote that in a week.
Wow.
I couldn't do it for 17 years, you know, and I wrote it in a week. I shared it with him. Then I shared it with him one day. The next week I shared the column method, and we talked for 5 hours. And you know, I've had a profound change, you know, and the profound change, it wasn't like the sky opened up or anything like that. All the confusion is gone. I know who I was, I know who I am, I know who I want to be.
Yes.
And I'm doing a lot of work on myself with God and with the direction of my sponsor now. And I'm asking for the grace, you know, because I understand now I can't forgive people. You know, my self-will, my anger is too strong. I can't forgive people on my own. I need to have God to forgive people.
Right.
And I'm doing some regression, and you know, it's going well. And you know, it turned out I had PTSD from childhood, you know, like a lot of us have, and only God could remove all that from me. And you know, I'm just very grateful, you know, and I'm progressing, you know, and like I have my list done for step 9, but I'm not ready for that yet. I have to build a relationship with God. And I'm very grateful to you, to all the people who shared. I learned so much about myself and about others. And I've enrolled for as a listener for the next workshop, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Herb.
Nice. You know, it's interesting because most people, including myself, do an autobiography first, which opens us up then to be able to do the specific resentment and fears work. And you had just the opposite experience, didn't you?
Yes.
You did the step 4 work out of my assignments, and then you were able to do an autobiography, which sounded quite detailed and very cathartic for you.
The reason was, after I did your work, I did the wrap up.
Yeah.
Very brief. I did it very briefly on the secrets.
Oh.
And that was what was stopping me.
Oh, right. All right. Got it.
And it was one secret that was stopping me.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it says make a searching and fearless moral inventory, you know, and when I was driving down to my sponsor, I was full of fear.
Yeah.
To share it. It
Right.
turned out my sponsors had the same secret.
There you go.
And it turns out that, you know, it was a big deal to me. I'm a big deal to me. But it's not, I'm not a big deal, and it's not a big deal.
Well done. Well said. That's right. Exactly. Thank you so much. Yeah,
Thank you, Barb.
I'm glad I pursued that because it reinforces what that first man had said to me about secrets and the importance that we really dig underneath and reveal all of that. Yeah. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you. Hi. I want to start out with all my gratitude list. I'm really grateful that I was led to this workshop. It was an amazing experience, and I am telling a lot of people about it. And I'm grateful for you as a teacher, Herb, and grateful for my step guide. I'm grateful for all the people who shared. They were also my teachers.
Yes.
And yeah, and that's what makes it so powerful, I think, this work. And such open and honest sharing. You don't always hear that kind of sharing in meetings. And my small group. And then also everybody who supports this, you know, all the administrative people, all the hosts, all the people who do service for the workshop. Anyway, so I'm very grateful. And I just want to say that I feel like this last part of my life is all about really finding the authentic me in reality and the enormity of who I am. I think that I've kept myself contained, and I, you know, and carried around a lot of pain that I didn't need to. I am going to be doing some work with a therapist on some PTSD, but I realized it was really a huge thing when I was talking about, you know, my father's abuse, and you know, and the last time that it happened was in my 20s, and you very gently said, well, that's been a while, hasn't it? I like your the way you inject humor into the teaching. I love that. And yeah, you know, I didn't start right away. I started at the end of step 1. So I just found out that you started with 10, 11, and 12. And are you going to be doing that again? Oh, great. Great. Okay. So yeah, I'm signed up because I want to for sure get what I had missed in the beginning on those steps and also on step 1. So I'm signed up for a listener. I find it's very rich, even being a listener. You know, you do have to take responsibility because you don't get called on, you know, so you have to step up, you know.
Well, and that's where the small group, I could probably, thank you for that. You don't know it, but you just made a suggestion, as I heard it, to be really strong with the listener group about the small group, because that's an accountability partnership that they can establish for themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's, thank you. That was an insight for me. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. My step guide was very, very good at that, keeping us, and in a very kind way. I don't respond well to, I guess, control freaks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, it triggers something in me that makes me want to rebel and makes me want to be dishonest as well.
Sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm a work in progress, and I have progressed.
Right, right, right.
And yeah, so I feel like I know a lot more about myself, and what I feel like sometimes I just get this feeling that comes over me that I'm just free. I'm free to do what I want to do
Right.
and be led. That's I keep it keeps coming up in my head. I've been led. I've been led to, and I've been open to being led, and I've been open to. Um, I think that that's a spiritual experience. That all the things that have happened to me in the last probably 4 years have been all about that, about saying yes.
Yeah.
Being led to the threshold and then saying yes, I'm going to cross it.
Yeah.
And that's what it's been about for me in the last few years.
Yeah. Yeah. Right from the beginning, you talked about seeing that you were playing small,
Yes.
and you became awake to that's what you didn't want to do. You wanted to play a little bit bigger than you had been playing, but you felt confined as if you didn't have a choice. And now you know you have a choice.
Yes. And
Yeah.
that's the freedom.
Yeah. Then that's the freedom. There you go. Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
And I'll see you on July 8th.
All right.
Thanks.
Because I've had big changes this year. One, I always wanted a formal meditation practice. And then you introduced us to the difference between meditation and contemplation. And for the past year, very few times have I missed it. Twice a day, morning and night, I sit for 20 minutes in that contemplation. Wow. And that's been huge. And it was surprisingly, it's harder right now because I'm having some emotional problems, but I'm still doing it. And it's just amazing to me. I've been in program for 18 years. I always wanted that. And this year it happened in this crazy time. And also the thing that I've noticed, I've been with my husband since I was 21 and I'm 60 now. And I would have told you that everything was his fault. Everything. It was pretty bad. And then my mom, I would have told you everything was her fault. And it was pretty bad. And I would have told you that my brother who passed away, he was schizophrenic and a heroin addict, everything was his fault. And this year, and it was hard to look at my mom's pictures, especially ones where she'd be smiling because she didn't have that smile for me. And now that's become very friendly. And I just noticed that this year. Her pictures are friendly. That tells me that I've forgiven her. Or I began to take responsibility and I realized I used to say they did the best they could and it was a shitty job. But now it's just like they did the best they could, just like me. I mean, I'm doing a crappy job right now. I'm just barely getting through. And the same with my husband. This was a big thing. I really, because I did your work on your website last year, and I was very thorough about it. And this year, I did a little lighter, but I did a very deep fourth step, not as much, but a lot of it was on my husband. And then I said that prayer for, 3 weeks or something. And then I began to notice that he's not the enemy anymore. It's just as annoying as it always has been.
Yes.
I bet I'm super annoying. We've been together since we were 21. And it's a surprising thing is anybody would have thought we would have killed each other during this pandemic. No. And it's not the problem anymore. I realized it was all my choices, learned behavior. I went and found it, and my brother who died, 8 years ago. Yeah, if I started thinking about the trauma and the abuse he did, that would get bad. But, he was so sick, God bless him. He was an addict and mentally ill. And so these are the things that I noticed this year. So when you say, look behind your shoulder and see what the difference is, I don't feel like when I'm sitting in contemplation that I'm getting anywhere. It's pretty crazy most of the time. And I didn't know that this worked, this 4-step I did, but that's what happened this year. And I'm in OA. Food is still not a problem. It's quiet. Even in this absolute chaos that I've been in for the past 5 weeks, it's just really amazing. So that's what I've noticed this year. And I just wanted to tell you thank you.
Well,
And I've introduced several people to this, and there's more coming, hopefully, for this next workshop.
yeah.
And I'm really grateful to you. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, wonderful. And by the way, I'm very happy to see people eager to share this news, this good news about the STEP workshop with other people, because that's the way it will grow organically. But I am curious about how you, or what you said at the beginning, and that is that you've been around the 12-step programs for, I think, several years, actually quite long. And yet it's only in the last year and a half that you have a consistent meditation practice. And I'm curious as to what was the hook? What was the precipitating experience or information or motivation for you to go from a non-meditator to a meditator?
I'll just have to answer it like this because I don't know.
Okay.
Obviously, we had something to do with God, but what happened was I have tried to sit. I actually listened to a lot of Buddhist material. I've sat a lot, just couldn't do it, just couldn't stick with it. I went to one of your centering prayer
Yes.
a year ago. A year ago, I went to that at night, and starting that night, I never stopped.
Interesting.
I don't know if it was the simplicity that when you said the only way you can do it wrong, I like doing things right. The only way you can do it wrong is to, not do it at all or get up and leave. And I went, wow, maybe I could do that. And I do not know why that hooked, but it hooked.
Yeah.
And I never turned back on it. It's a little harder right now because what I'm going through.
Sure. Yeah. You're going through phases and stages and cycles, but it's the simplicity that really attracted me to it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot. And this was just so simple. You mean I don't have to, that's it? Okay, I can do that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's what it was, I think. I don't know. Right time, right place, right person.
I get it. 100%. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I think I've told you that my study group is going to be continuing on. And we're right now working on Forgive for Good and doing the assignments in there.
Yeah.
So all of that, I'll be continuing. My AA sponsor, all that is going well. I will tell you that I am having a lot of trouble staying abstinent in a food program. And for some reason, I don't take it. This is how I describe it. I'm in love with my AA sobriety. It's 18 years and it's just, I'm in love with it and I can't fall in love with the food program. And I didn't think I was just going to say this out loud, but that's just what came out of my mouth just now. And I know that you're going to say it's all the same source, right?
Well, but it's a very different problem. It's a very different problem, but the solution's the same. But there's got to be variations on how you manage it. And I'm not in that fellowship, or do I have any experience there? I have exposure to people like yourself, and we chat about it. But it's different, and I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah. The other question I had is, I really appreciated the 4-step process that we did, and I got to seeing, everything that I was nurturing, the resentment I was continuing and maintaining. I started the whole forgiveness thing, and now the person is continuing behavior that is making me feel resentment again. Should I just go back and just keep doing the same process?
Well, maybe, but the point of the process is to identify what the trigger is in you. Because don't expect the person to change. You're the one that's reacting. So in the third column, the experience that I would invite you to challenge yourself is to, what is it that I believe? That this person should change, that this person should behave differently, that I should be able to handle it better. What is the should that's operating in me? What is my belief?
That's
And
right.
if that might be productive. And then certainly in the fourth column, look at what your motive is. What's my motive for being there? What's my motive for reacting? And get underneath that. Between the two of them, when you own it, it's not them, it's always you. When you own it, then perhaps you can adjust it in some way. As they say, or the psychologists have taught me, to name it is to tame it. And that's what this analysis is all about, is for you to get very clear as to, well, so what is the benefit of you reacting this way? That's a rhetorical question. Yeah. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. And then, of course, pray for healing. That's that between the third and fourth column, a very powerful process of prayer. And it's really about healing. Sure, the removal of the deep resentment, of course, but that's the surgery. I need to heal from the surgery. Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. I started, my vision went out again to the person, and that the work is all here. Okay.
Yeah. The problem's never outside ourselves.
I
know. Yeah. Oh, Herb.
So
I'm going to go to a different workshop for sure.
I will be a listener in the next one, and I'm very grateful for this year. You rocked it, Herb. You rocked it on Zoom.
All right. Yeah,
Thank you.
I've fallen in love with Zoom. It's really spoiled me. Not only obviously is the commute better, but I think the communication is better.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Like I'm sitting with you personally. Everybody else disappears in my view. Where I'm in a large room with a bunch of people, of course, then it's literally you disappear into the bunch of people. Or if I'm on the phone, it's not as personal like when I see you reacting with your hands and with your face and with your eyes and with your head. It's like, it's a totally different experience for me. I'm loving it. Yeah.
And I also have just fallen in love too with all these faces that come back every week, and to watch us all struggle through the questions and just feel empathy and for each other. It's been great.
Yeah.
Herb, this has been a wonderful, wonderful experience for me. And I feel like I have grown so much in this last year. I felt like prior to this workshop, I was really stagnant in my recovery, and that I just wasn't growing. I was just going through the motions. I was going through to meetings, but I wasn't doing the work to get better. And I feel I'm proud of myself, for one, that I stuck to it, that I did this, I stuck to it. And that, I did most of the work, not all of it, but a lot of it I've done. I did the fifth step with my sponsor, but we had to break it up. So we still have more to do. I also am in a study group. I think I shared this before, that the study group I was working with in this group, we kind of disbanded. Well, I did, because I wanted to join a study group with my sponsor and my sponsor sisters. So they are in the beginning of another one of your workshops. So I'm going back through what we've done. And I'm finding that to be really rewarding because I'm doing it with my sponsor, and the accountability is there, and we're showing up and we're doing this together and we're already connected. So I feel like that's really bringing us even closer. So this has just been an amazing experience for me. I feel like my spirit has been awakened.
Yes.
Someone was speaking about the fourth step earlier, and it was just so beneficial for me to do that fourth step in the format that with your worksheets, and in particular, working through that resentment with my father, with you. I feel like I had a one-on-one therapy session.
Yeah.
That I did not have to pay for, and I got so much out of that.
Yes.
And after having worked through that, he popped up, then my sister popped up. And then last week, just over the weekend, I went to a restaurant, and who do I see but my cousin at a park across the street from the restaurant? She was on my resentment list. And this stuff is not a coincidence. I'm convinced it's not a coincidence.
No, it is.
I saw her. It was like I did not feel the resentment. Now, I've done the prayers and all of that. And at that moment in time, when I saw her, nothing, it was gone. I was happy to see her, and it's like reading that Forgive for Good book, and how trivial, he makes some of those resentments seem. It's like, I'm just wasting my time focusing on those resentments, giving it that much energy and power. You know how we talk about, living rent free in our heads, but I'm in tune with it. That's what I feel like. I feel like I'm not detached, from my feelings anymore. I feel like I am responsible, like we've talked about, for my thinking, my behavior, my actions, what I say, what I don't say. I just feel connected.
Yeah.
And I'm really doing what this program has suggested. But see, I just feel like, I don't know. You know how it talks about being asleep, thinking I was awake?
Yeah.
That's where I was.
Yeah.
Asleep, but not knowing that I was asleep. So my spirit is awakened, and I'm committed. I feel like I really want to do this. I haven't signed up for the listener workshop, but I plan to, because I've gotten so accustomed to being with you all on Thursday night. And I know that's Friday night, so that might be an adjustment, but I want to do it because it's just been so helpful, and listening to everyone share. And sometimes I don't even have to share because other people say it for me, or just the interaction with folks and them sharing themselves with us. Some of the things that they've said have helped me to see things that I wasn't even looking at. I'm just more attuned to me. And so for that, I truly do thank you, because this has been very rewarding for me, and I thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks. And it sounds like you're taking responsibility for your own journey by leaving a group that you were in and going to a group that would be supportive in a way that you chose differently. So stay open and don't get into the rut unless you're conscious that that's the place that's serving you the best.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and wasn't anything wrong with the women that I was with.
No, I understand.
I just wanted to move on and continue the journey with people that I knew that I would be accountable to as I carry on in my journey.
Right.
And it helped me to really get closer to those women that my sponsor also sponsors, and just seeing how much more alike we are than different.
Yeah.
And, just being able to really get deeper too.
Yeah.
And I'm the kind of person, I need accountability, because
everybody does, by the way.
If I can hide, I'll hide. And I remember early on in this session, you talked about hiding was a form of dishonesty.
Correct.
That stuck with me.
Mm.
I'm not hiding as much. that way. I still hide, but not as
Exactly.
I'm
Nice.
aware of it, you know?
Right. Yeah. All
Yeah.
right.
And that's the thing, just the awareness, having the awareness
Yeah.
of what I'm doing and what I'm not doing. That's huge for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have any excuses anymore. Not that I had any before, but I had found some, you know, and it was like I just didn't have truth.
But we don't even know it. I mean, the very fact that you can repeat something with understanding, that is, I didn't know I was asleep and now I'm awake. You have to be awake in order to know that you were asleep.
Mhm.
So already that's the evidence that you're waking up, that in fact you kind of like, oh, I was asleep.
Yep, a deep slumber.
Well, we get it. That's the complacency and habit of human beings, though, because it's easier that way.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
yet it's not.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because once you become awoke, and you hear the truth,
yeah,
no, you just can't stay silent. Or at least I can't. I'm having trouble, being silent, and I don't want to get back into those old patterns. I don't. I don't. They don't serve me well. They're not useful.
that's right. That's right.
Me staying stuck. And another thing, and then I'm gonna let this go. One of the things that I had not realized about myself was that I really, really know how to play the victim, to the point that I didn't even know that I was playing the victim. That was
Correct.
one of the things that I saw in my writing, how much I played the victim and how much manipulation, how much I manipulated things.
Right.
I didn't know that. It's so subtle, especially that victim part.
It
It's
is.
so subtle that
It seems so real. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. So thank you, Herb.
Herb, I want to thank you. I could thank you every day, really, because just like you said at the beginning of your workshop, the set aside prayer to be taken to a place where I've never been before. And that's what's happened to me, Herb, as a result of being mentored by you and working the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous in a really profound way. I remember going back to the very beginning, you asked us those 4 questions, and one of them was, are you being honest? And, I say yes, because I truly believe that I'm being honest about things. But as I've worked the steps with you through this workshop, I could see where in so many ways I haven't been honest with myself or my sponsor. And it's really good to be able to just say that and to get honest and to talk about the things that needed to be talked about. And, that just lightens the load. It's a good thing. I could tell you all kinds of nice things about myself, but maybe I should run upstairs and get Karen, have her come down and tell you how maybe that's not true, but right.
I'm sure that you are a nice man, and yet what you said is, I thought I was honest until I did additional work.
Yes.
And I found that there were shades of gray. That's all. Yeah, it wasn't a mortal sin coming from my tradition of Catholicism, mortal versus venial, but it was like, oh, I didn't know that I had that blemish.
And that's exactly what it's been, Herb. Going through this workshop with you, I guess when we got to parts of it, first of all, in the beginning, I thought I could skip some things because I've been around for so long, and that wasn't true. And then I thought, well, I don't know if I really want to go to that place because I don't know if I really want to bring that back up again, and that wasn't true either. Everything worked out for good. And I did want to ask you a question about, did you in the very beginning say that if you will be honest and be willing to do this work to the best of your ability, that you promise we would have a spiritual awakening?
Yes, I can hear myself saying that, yes.
Okay. I thought you said that, Herb. And, the way I always, coming through years of Alcoholics Anonymous, we repeat things that we hear. And that's what my journey has been like, especially with the men that I sponsor. But I have been telling the men that I'm sponsoring now that I'm asking to come into your workshop in July. I think they all are. I've been telling them what you said, gentlemen, this is the real deal here,
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't go to AA meetings. I'm saying that if you do this, this will be a real benefit in your life. And Herb has made the promise that if you work these steps the way that they're laid out for this workshop and do it the best of your ability, you will have a spiritual awakening. They're pretty excited about that.
Yeah. And it's not my promise. It's my quote
Okay.
of the Big Book's promise.
Okay.
Well, that's step 12, isn't it?
Yeah.
Having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. Could it be any clearer?
Right.
So when I say it, I'm merely quoting the Big Book. I'm also absolutely acknowledging my own personal experience with mine and the people I've taken through individually, as well as now 25 years of taking groups through.
Yes.
So I'm very confident.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm aware of, Herb, is, in my travels each day, the places I go and the people I see and that sort of thing, that my heart has truly changed about the way that I feel about people. I was terribly judgmental and critical, inside towards some men, that I was around a lot and various things, but that has changed. God has changed my heart in that respect. And I think it's a direct result of that step 10 and step 11.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. It really has been. I thank you for that. I really like the way you started your workshop off with those two steps. I didn't get it at the time, but it was perfect because it set me up at the very beginning of the work to dive in and then just lean into the light all the way through it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that change, that shift in the protocol for me, moving 10, 11, and 12 to the front, doing it again at the end, but moving it to the front so that people have the tools and have some time to absorb it if they care to. I think that accounts for the improvement in the survival rate.
Yeah.
Because the groups are 20 to 30% larger at the finish than they've been in the prior 23 years.
Oh, that's great, Herb. Well, Herb, I thank you so much, and I'll look forward to seeing you again on the next workshop.
It's been an amazing experience for me. I'm enrolled for next year, looking forward to it with my same study group. And the study group has been just a phenomenal experience for me. Part of it is the simple accountability and structure of meeting at the same time every week. And the biggest part of it are the wonderful women that I get to share with, and they get to share with me. As a matter of fact, I was able to do my 5th step with someone in my group, and that was really important. It was wonderful because she knows more about what you talk about than I do, or she has a much deeper understanding of it than I do. So it was really helpful. I'd say at this point, I think my awareness is greater because I'm generally I feel better. I'm more clear. I'm not as angry as I was, or when I get angry, I kind of think back. A lot of things I worked through on the 3rd and 4th columns.
Right.
And they're so far, they're embedded in my brain. It's like, oh, gratitude's the answer here. You're not being grateful. And that usually is like, oh, okay. And so it's just been it's been very helpful for me. Like someone else said, I find this group is so, I want to say comforting, but it's more than comforting that I don't find that at AA. I like AA and I still go I still have a commitment and do it 3 nights a week. But this has really been special. And and I have so much more to learn. I feel like I never did the first, definitely 3 steps, even though I've gone back and read and read and read. Hopefully I'll do it better this time. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm just very, very grateful to you for what you've given to me and what you do. I hope you take care of yourself.
I do, in fact. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Yep. I plan on being around for a long time.
Yeah, I really appreciate what you've done in terms of making your workshop open to people of all fellowships, and really helping the participants do a really deep dive into the big book. You know, I think that's a really, for me, and I know for some other people, I know it's really valuable. Some of our fellowships use other text in conjunction with the big book. It's not that they don't, you know, we all use it. We all love our big book, but
not everybody is exposed to the big book, by the way, because so part of my mission is to make sure the big book gets exposed to fellowships outside of AA that are not as keen on the big book. I hear comments like, well, it was written in 1939. Well, it's got old language. Well, it's gender specific. Well, it was written by a bunch of middle-class white men, Protestants. And it's kind of like, oh, come on, give me a break.
No, I have heard a lot of those different arguments, you know, not so much in the, at least in the fellowship circle that I'm in. I've been in other food recovery programs, and some of them, they pretty much are like, yeah, that was then and this is now. But you know, I think we have to be willing to strip away, like, yeah, it was written in 1939 and it was written by a bunch of white men, but that doesn't mean there isn't valuable information, you know.
Exactly.
I mean, our Constitution was written by a bunch of white slave owners, and you know, they were awful in a lot of ways, but they were also pretty smart in a lot of ways. So I'm fond of the "don't throw out the baby with the bathwater" phrase, but I know that gets really loaded. So
yes, it does. But that's why we come with a prayer for an open mind and heart. So yeah. I don't need to comment anymore. Your comments are wonderful. Yeah. Thank you.
I think the way that you did step 4 with the columns, I think that's such a gift to people, and the patients, save all your patience for those, you know, that step, like if you have a limited reservoir, because it takes some of us a while to really figure out these columns and what you're describing and what we're doing. But, you know, once we kind of get past the like, oh my God, it's so different and crazy, what do I do? You know, once we get past that, and usually we have like a step guide or somebody who's done it before who figures it out. It's truly amazing. It's truly amazing how that is. It's different and it's not different, right? It's a different way of looking. It's a different way of processing that inventory, and it's really helped me with what you were saying earlier, that the trouble is always inside of me.
Yes.
You know, my as I've mentioned, my father is sick, and my mother, who is very, very self-centered, wants to come out in July. And you know how my husband's doing this, and he's bringing out my mom, and he's, you know, coordinating the flights and the schedules. I was telling my sponsor about all this, and she says just one little thing. She says, "Why is your husband doing everything?"
So what was your answer to your sponsor?
I told her, I don't know if I didn't say anything in the call. I said, you know, I have to think about that. Or I might have immediately just said, because I don't want to, or something like that. But when we talked about it again, I was like, I'm having him do it because I'm just afraid to make her mad. I'm afraid of her anger. I'm afraid to not be good enough for her.
My personal experience and stance with people, no matter who they are, is I tell them on a need to know basis, number one. Number two, my immediate response role playing for you with the answer to that question was, because I don't want to deal with her and I'm a really good delegator.
Yes, I am a good delegator, and my husband is just such a gem. And if I'm like, I really want her to come out here and I want her to have a good time, will you take care of it? And he does it.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm seeing that as a really healthy thing. And his response could be codependency, but I'm going to assume that it's because he really loves you, that he can in fact take care of it, and it doesn't bother him to take care of it. So that's exactly the right way healthy way to handle this. Dr. Berger said it, and I've mentioned it here on the call some time ago. There's only one reason to do anything, because I really want to. And there's only one reason not to do it, because I really don't want to. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't really want to deal with her, but I feel like, he and I talked about it, and he's like, I could do it all, but she is your mom. You might want, she's going to be here. You may want to at least have one conversation with her. So
no, that's your choice.
It is my choice. He's not making me.
and you get to determine the rules, if you will, the protocol, the parameters of that time. I mean, if you want to be with your mother and it's going to be 15 minutes, make it 15 minutes or an hour or 2 hours, whatever it is, you set up. Don't allow her to set the rules of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the one other thing I was thinking, a lot of my people in my study group and people are signing up for the workshop again, as us actives are signing up as listeners. And I signed up as a listener, but I have to tell you honestly, it was nice to hear you say to somebody else, don't fall into what did you call it? The rut rat? The rut rat?
Rut, maybe, or the rut.
Yeah, because this was very intense for me. And with this, my FA meetings and my study group, it's not possible for me to work a 40-hour work week, doing the homework and participating. And I knew that going into it. I was not working full time going into it, but now I am. And I kind of feel like maybe I just need to take a break.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean,
well, first, it's really what you think in prayer. I know you're asking for a sounding board, and I am going to give it, but I'm going to set it up first. And so the decision is yours in prayer, and then in consultation with your sponsor. I recommend to people, because it's my experience, I took a break after doing the steps, because each time I did the steps, I finished step 9 within the year or the 2 years that were allocated for it. I finished the steps, and then I didn't do the steps again for another 3 years. That was in the beginning. Now, I did the steps the last time in 2003 with a step guide, and I haven't done them since myself, 1 through 12 with a step guide, because I don't feel the need to. I live pretty rigorously, consistently in 10, 11, and 12. But those first 10 years, 15 years, I needed to do that, but I needed space in between to practice and absorb what I had experienced.
I like that. I think I would like to do it again in about a year now that I did a better. It really took me a while to kind of get around the step 4, column 3 and 4. Yeah. And I was really focused on like a work relationship thing. And so I didn't really deal with some of the lesser, but still there, some of the ones like you were talking about. Well, what about the people who irritate you? What about the little things that get under your skin? And I think it would be really good to go after those. But I spent this particular workshop really digging deep into this issue with this boss person, because I mean, it was pretty loaded. It had a lot of other stuff that resentment wasn't. There was other stuff about my life in that resentment. So I needed to work through that one.
Yeah. And you can always do laser focused work. I think I mentioned in 2008 or 9, right in that area, I did some laser focused column 3, column 4 work on 2 or 3 individuals. It took me a couple weeks, but I didn't do steps 1 through 3 to build to it. I did do some 5 through 9 afterwards, but it was all laser focused, and it only took me a couple weeks.
Oh, that's great.
I was dealing with a couple tuna that got into my canal.
Well, we'll see. After my mom's visit, I may need actually to do a pretty solid stuff.
That's right.
Thank you very much. I really feel like you opened my eyes to a very healthy way to work through resentments.
Conversation was certainly healthy for you and me to have, but also because it opens up a whole conversation with other people that we might not have had recently. So it's very important to have that, I believe, healthy perspective toward it. At the very least, the listener meeting is a really good meeting, whether you're doing the work or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I believe the structure is the listeners, they're all on the Thursday or whatever day of it. But for me, it'd be Thursday.
Yeah.
So they're all on the Thursday call, and then Friday is when you talk to them or they talk to you.
On a volunteer basis, yeah.
Right.
I don't keep a list. Yes.
You don't call on people?
I do not. No, do not. Yeah.
All right. Well,
that's
thank
the
you.
major difference. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much for the workshop, and I feel like my the fact that I stayed until the end is because of my sponsor. I did this workshop for the 2nd time this year, and last year I dropped out at step 6 or 7. So I promised myself to finish it this year, but then life came along and things happened, and I had a baby, and I was very anxious. But because I promised myself to stay, I wanted to stay, but not as an active listener. So I told my sponsor, it's too hard. I've got a small baby. She's crying. I'm gonna drop out and do just a passive listener. And she said, oh yeah, look, babies are great and crying babies are great. So just do it with the baby. And if you can't wake up because she doesn't sleep the whole night, just don't do it, but try to do your best. So I stayed, and I'm really grateful, because I feel like you promised the results are bigger than what we put in. So that's been my experience for this year, and I'm very much looking forward to my experience for next year, the next workshop. Thanks, Herb.
You bet.
I was often afraid of not actually doing the work. I talked about it, I wrote about it, but actually walking out the door and doing it. And I had a wonderful week, and I was actually doing the work. And it's like osmosis. I mean, I was just doing it.
Yeah.
And another example is, and God is a funny God. He's a funny God, and he knows I like men. So this man that I've known for 17 years, it's kind of been calling me, and then he asked me for a date, and we went on our 2nd date yesterday. And you know what? It was so nice, Herb, because I didn't go out and buy my wedding dress today. It's so friggin' nice. It's like, I just want to be a friend. I just want to, we had a great time, but I just listened for the first time. I was quiet. And there was silence, and it was okay. That's not who that wasn't me before. It's like I couldn't have silence. So anyway, I'm different, and it's going to be I'm really looking forward to life. I'm really excited about life, and I hide myself in my job. I love my job, and I hide behind there, and I don't really interact with the recovery people. I mean, I go to meetings, but I don't say anything. And now I think I have something to say, and which is my experience of my spiritual awakening. And the other thing I did is I spoke up. I wanted to read this book, and I spoke up to the group, and we got a group together, and we're going to read Emotional Sobriety together. And I was always the Indian. I didn't want to be the chief. I used to be the chief, and I was down your throat, the chief. And I 2 girls signed up to be listeners, and I didn't go down their throat. I just told them my experience. And that's all I have. And oh, Herb, I'm so glad I learned that everybody has reality, and it's not always my reality. I'm so glad I learned that everybody perceives things differently. I'm so much more calm and relaxed about other people. I'm not scared of people. I was so scared of people, Herb.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid like I used to be. And then my God is so much bigger. Oh, my God is so much bigger. And my sponsor even said to me tonight, and she's very tough on me. She says, really good to hear you talking positive about yourself.
Nice.
Because I didn't do that before. And so anyway, thank you so much. And it's all because of this workshop. And
yes.
And thank all the people that taught me how to listen, because it was important what you guys said, and I didn't know that in the beginning.
Yeah.
And it took me until now to realize it's important to listen to other people and to learn. Because remember, when I came in, I thought I knew everything, and now I know I don't know anything. Yeah. And I'm really excited about learning. So I will see you July 8th.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I can hear the change, not just in the words you use. I see it on the face, but it's the resonance and tone that you're using. It's very much a shift. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Herb.
Yeah.
I guess the big insight for me that came early on, I guess during step 4, was, the understanding of narcissism as it played out in my personality. It's just been a fantastic process. Really sort of realized that my ego has got smaller through this process, but only in understanding that definition of narcissism. I've done earlier work on narcissism in AA, but I think it takes what it takes to realize and to experience, and actually just to be free. So I had no attachment to it. I wasn't scared of it. Now I can see God, with the key relationships in my life. Yeah, I was a little narcissist running, little Pol Pot running the show. And it's really helped me with any resentments, because I know every time I'm the one that's kind of making the problem. I mean, that's been in the big book. I've read it a million times, but still it's been a big insight. I've been saying the removal of deep resentments prayer for 6 months. My relationship with my sister, it saw me make a really beautiful amend to her recently. I've thrown myself into helping others at my lowest throughout this process. The accountability has been very embarrassing in the amends. Probably showed me how I inflated some stuff, just that like over processing of things. So that was good. Understanding narcissism and the role in my life with my son, my work, my family. I found the step 6 columns really, really good, amazing. I've only just finished praying through those every night, just praying for their removal through step 7 on each line. I really love the principles. I'm probably going to just use those ongoing and just pray on one every night, just reflect on that. maybe even just bring that into my morning meditation. I've also really loved the difference in my meditation. So I start with prayer, I go into a meditation, a focused meditation on part of the prayer, and then I do that contemplation. And I've just sat there and just contemplated the nothingness, and that has been very peaceful for me. I've really loved that. I had a real awakening through step 11. Just God as presence rather than, Jerry or whoever it needs to be. It's just presence. It's given me new interests. So during step 11, I just started to twig onto the UFO stories. I was like, okay, let's go there. And that was fascinating. I've sort of put that down, but it really, it's opened me up, step 11. I know I've got a future to look forward to, but, I think one of the wonderful simplicities has been, life is taking the next indicated action based on principles. The next right choice, pretty much. That's it. I mean, and I'm just telling that to my children now. That's it. That's all you need to do. I'm abstinent over 1 year. I'm sober and I'm drug free. That's the main thing. I think you've really opened me up to that interdimensional reality as an experience and a belief. That's kind of the next frontier for me. And I think I've known it intellectually, but now I have it as a presence, and it's very, very spiritually fulfilling. And I love the closed fist for the closed mind. When I get too big and too fast, I come back. I can see that I've got a closed fist. I'm just, chopping life up, chop, 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 chop. I've really enjoyed it. I can see. I had a sponsor, or I've had an older sober member for years talking to me about you're a newcomer in the first 5 years. You only get a program at 10 years. You've only just started, And I've had a new career in August since I joined this 12-step program. I visited my childhood farm and my soul country. I've watched the relationship with my kids flourish. We're looking at buying our forever home, with a great lifestyle and school that's very counterintuitive to the upbringing that I had. It's much more free. I have health and I'm helping my mum. I've reconciled and I've forgiven people. I've done a thorough step 4 through 9, and I've stretched and I've humbled and I've walked through hell, and I've emerged better for it. And today I know I'm a narcissist recovering one day at a time. That was a lot, but I wanted to share it. It's been great, Herb. Thank you.
Oh no, it's comprehensive. It's fascinating. It's no surprise, but it is wonderful to hear the color of it. And the thing that you kept repeating is, I've read about it, I've heard about it, I've understood it, I've even accepted it. But this is a time where I've had an experience with it. And that's transformation. When you have that experience, and you could even understand experience without having one. Yeah, exactly. And until you have it, then you really don't know what it means. And it's clear from the wonderful litany that you've had transformative experiences. And the really good news is, if you are faithful, I don't mean perfect, if you're faithful to your program, it's going to continue to expand. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
What I was working on in the workshop with my 4-step and 5th and letting go of is a lot with my loved ones, where I felt for them. Even though I had this inner dialogue of unenforceable rules in my head, my chest would hurt, my stomach would hurt, I would want to say something, but I wouldn't, and so, I just, if I could do anything about that, the chest hurting or the stomach hurting, because I would feel their heartbreak. And this week, all three of my kids had things going on, and I absolutely had no, I could listen, I can empathize, I didn't have to have the sympathy. I didn't have a heartbreak. It was almost like I felt like I had a final exam to this workshop. It was my gut wasn't hurting, my heart wasn't hurting. I was just able to hear them. Unless they asked, I didn't give them any advice. And that's transformative. That is huge for me.
Yeah.
Not having that knife to the chest, like, oh, that's happening to you. And that inner dialogue, I didn't even have that inner dialogue. It just wasn't, it was noticeable. And there was a lot this week. There wasn't just one thing happening to one person. There was a lot of drama happening to many people at one time. And I'm just in awe.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard a phrase from Al-Anon that I think you're describing, and that is, with love, detach from your circumstances, detach from the people. You're still involved and you still care, but you don't have that connection of a string that their pain becomes your pain.
Correct.
Yeah.
There was this, definitely this, they obviously know I love them, but I felt detached. I didn't feel a need, felt very powerless.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no power. I have no advice, I can't fix this.
Right.
But actually not having that physical, because it would manifest as a physical pain.
Yeah.
I didn't have that.
Yeah. And that's the freedom that we're talking about. The freedom doesn't make us callous. It just makes us realistic that life's in session. There are some things that I can influence. There's nothing that I can control. Yeah.
It's been going very, very well for me. I just feel there's been an incredible letting go and living life a lot easier as a result of the step work. I've been able to, like was described earlier by one of the speakers, my prayer practice, just being faithful to the routines.
Yes.
And then I believe I get inspirational thoughts during that time in the morning.
Sure.
And it just keeps me focused for the day. And now I have given it a lot of credence to those thoughts.
Yes.
You had a lovely phrase for it, and I just can't recall it now, but it's about like focused thinking.
Intentional.
That's the word.
Intentional consciousness.
Consciousness, yes. I couldn't recall the phrase, but yes, absolutely that. And it takes me from self to focus on others.
Yeah, right.
And it just makes life, the living of life, easier.
It does.
Takes the responsibility. I'm all the quintessential, the narcissistic, the control, the eldest in the family, the eldest daughter, piles of brothers, the elderly infirm mother. And I am able to stand back, love at a distance, not feel that all the responsibility is mine.
Mm-hmm.
And allow them to carry their load, and do the same with my young adult children.
Yes.
I don't call them my children anymore. They're the young adults that live with me.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that's very freeing as well.
And it's very empowering for them, by the way.
Yes, yes, and I find they are coming to talk to me about very personal issues, both medical and other,
Okay.
that a young man wouldn't, I think, naturally, especially where I live,
Yes.
openly speak to his own mother about it. You know, and my daughter has described me as how it's easier to talk. You know, she finds it easier to talk to me as her mum than some of her friends can't speak to their mothers. And I feel so grateful. And when I hear things like that, when I hit my knees at night, you know, I give thanks every single night. I just can't believe the days I have. Every day has been better than the day that preceded it.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, you know. And today my brother-in-law died, and it was an expected death, but earlier than one would think, you know. And you know, it's a sad day too.
Right.
But yet I'm very, very grateful. Despite COVID and everything, I got to see him. He was very lucid, and it was very nice. And even today now, my sister-in-law was saying how she really appreciated that opportunity to see myself and my husband and talk with us, and, you know, just have empathy with what she's doing. Now, I did go into, well, this weekend, he was still alive when I was going to work this morning, and I was going into a bit of overdrive as to what I could do this coming weekend when I was off work. But of course, you know, I told God my plan, and he's had a good laugh because he's moved the whole thing on from me. I didn't have to go over there and save the,
Right.
you know. So yes, living life much slower and in gratitude, which is fantastic.
Thanks to everybody who's shared, and thank you very much, Herb. What I've been really getting present to is that what I've appreciated about what we've been doing in this workshop with you, Herb, is just learning some really practical tools.
Yeah.
Some really constructive and obvious things that I can actually do.
Yeah.
To really improve my situation. And one thing that I added today that I really liked is 10 long, quiet breaths to settle into meditation. So thank you for that. I've spoken before about what I've got out of this program, but I'll just quickly go over it again. Yeah, you gave me the opportunity to have a conversation with God in my quiet time instead of sitting there trying to empty my head, which wasn't possible. I too have really realized my self-centeredness and my narcissism. And when you suggested to get an accountability buddy to deal with the issues that, you know, that I want to improve about myself, that has been really, really practical again and really useful. And I recently asked my sponsor what I needed, you know, what is something that I could work on. And she said humility, which I was furious at.
How dare you? Don't you intuitively know how humble I am?
That's right.
She said from her high chair.
Yeah, exactly. So, but having learned what I've learned with you, you know, I went and I looked the word up. I think I shared this. I looked the word up, and I made a list of things, actual practical things that I can do. And one of them actually was not trying to to discuss things without trying to convince another person that I am, you know, that my view is right. And that's actually been quite groundbreaking for me, because I work as a stylist, but there's a big sales component to what I do. So my job really for years has been to bring other people over to my side. And so that's been a really really interesting journey. And I notice as well, and it's just so in my face right now. I'm actually really going through it at the moment, and I'm very grateful, and I feel like I've got a lot out of this workshop, but I just see how much work there is that I still have to do. And recently I've been arguing with my sponsor, which isn't very humble either, is it?
Well,
So-
it may be. Arguing, probably not. Discussing strongly probably is humble if in fact you're confronting something that you really do feel needs to be discussed and resolved. Yeah. So the humility would be is in challenging your sponsor, not to bring them to your side or to make sure you're right, but to attempt to discern what the truth is.
So do you mean ask my sponsor to explain?
Oh, well, certainly that, at the very minimum, yes. But you might even have some type of an energetic discussion where they think they're right, you think you're right, but you stay in a humble position of an open mind, open heart, expressing your side of it and documenting it in whatever way that validates your side, but also listening very much openly to perhaps changing your mind based on their presentation. That's humility. Teresa of Avila, a 16th century Carmelite mystic, she defined humility as truth. Humility, finding the truth. What is the reality? That's what I meant by that.
Mm. Okay, well, I hear that as finding the love.
All right, that would be a synonym, quite frankly, I'm sure. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. So, well, thank you very much, Herb. Yeah, it's been a wonderful journey, and I really relate to other people who've said or the general theme, which is we're in the journey. I'm on a journey. The journey is the destination, and yeah. So many people never get on the bus. We're all on the bus. Yeah, and it really is wonderful. And thanks for all the really practical tips.
Probably over 30 years ago, I was on a retreat, a weekend retreat, and the retreat master facilitator at the end of the retreat gave us a meditation called A Chinese Legend, the bamboo story. And it was so moving for me that I have used it at the close of any retreat I do, certainly, and each of the year-long workshops. So I would like to read it as a meditation. It's in the Way of Life document. You can always access it there, but I'm not asking you to or to be reading it. I'm asking you to listen to it as a meditation, as a guided meditation, because it's a phenomenal parallel summary of the process that we've been through over a full year period, steps 1 through 12. And yet it comes from a very different culture and very different vocabulary. But underneath it, listen to the parallel. Once upon a time, in the heart of the Western Kingdom lay a beautiful garden. And there in the cool of the day was the master of the garden walking. Of all the denizens of the garden, the most beautiful and most beloved was a gracious and noble bamboo. Year after year, bamboo grew yet more noble and gracious, conscious of his master's love and watchful delight, but modest and gentle. Often, when wind came to revel in the garden, bamboo would cast aside his grave stateliness to dance and play right merrily, tossing and swaying and leaping and bowing in joyous abandon, leading the great dance of the garden, which most delighted the master's heart. Now upon the day the master himself drew near to contemplate his bamboo, with eyes of curious expectancy. And Bamboo, in a passion of adoration, bowed his great head to the ground in loving greeting. The master spoke, "Bamboo, Bamboo, I would use thee." Bamboo flung his head to the sky in utter delight. The day of days had come, the day for which he had been made, the day for which he had been growing hour by hour, the day in which he would find his completion and his destiny. His voice came low, "Master, I am ready. Use me as thou wilt." Bamboo. The master's voice was grave. "I would fain take thee and cut thee down." A trembling of a great horror shook Bamboo. "Cut me down, me whom thou, master, hast made the most beautiful in all thy garden, to cut me down? Oh, not that, not that. Use me for thy joy, O master, but cut me not down." "Bamboo, beloved Bamboo," the master's voice grew graver still, "if I cut thee not down, I cannot use thee." The garden grew still. Wind held his breath. Bamboo slowly bent his proud and glorious head. There came a whisper, "Master, if thou canst not use me, but thou cut me down, then do thy will and cut." "Bamboo, beloved Bamboo, I would cut thy leaves and branches from thee also." "Master, master, spare me. Cut me down and lay my beauty in the dust, but wouldst thou take from me my leaves and branches also?" "Bamboo, alas, if I cut them not away, I cannot use thee." The sun hid his face. A listening butterfly glided fearfully away, and Bamboo shivered in terrible expectancy, whispering low, "Master, cut away." "Bamboo, Bamboo, I would yet cleave thee in twain and cut out thine heart, for if I cut not so, I cannot use thee." Then was Bamboo bowed to the ground, "Master, master, then cut and cleave." So did the master of the garden take Bamboo and cut him down and hack off his branches and strip off his leaves and cleave him in twain and cut out his heart. And lifting him gently, carried him to where was a spring of fresh sparkling water in the midst of his dry fields. Then putting one end of his broken bamboo in the spring and the other end into the water channel in his field, the master laid down gently his beloved Bamboo. And the spring sang welcome, and the clear sparkling waters raced joyously down the channel of Bamboo's torn body into the waiting fields. Then the rice was planted, and the days went by, and the shoots grew, and the harvest came. In that day was Bamboo, once so glorious in his stately beauty, yet more glorious in his brokenness and humility. For in his beauty he was life abundant, but in his brokenness he became a channel of abundant life to his master's world. Join me in the prayer of St. Francis, which talks about a channel. This is the channel that we've become. This is the soul surgery that opened us up to allow grace and the life of God and the life of the life force to flow through us, to us, out from us into the world around us. Lord, make me a channel of your peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love, that where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness, that where there is discord, I may bring harmony, that where there is error, I may bring truth, that where there is doubt, I may bring faith, that where there is despair, I may bring hope, that where there are shadows, I may bring light, that where there is sadness, I may bring joy. Lord, grant that I may seek rather to comfort than to be comforted, to understand than to be understood, to love than to be loved. For it is by self-forgetting that one finds, it is by forgiving that one is forgiven. It is by dying that one awakens to eternal life. Amen. Eckhart Tolle, in the book, The Power of Now, has a line that just intrigues me. The secret to life is to die before you die and realize there is no death. You see, this process is the death of the false self, so that the true self can live a full, optimal life. Thanks, everybody. It's been wonderful to be your companion on this journey, and we'll meet each other as we navigate life together.